the country. Still another day of warmth across the Northeast. That's changing though this weekend. Temperatures will be a little bit cooler on Saturday and then much cooler on Sunday. And you can see the potential of what's coming. Only a high of 53 on Friday. Minneapolis in the 40s farther to the north and west. So that air is heading eastward. Now let's focus on the flooding that we potentially may have here across the middle of the nation. Tremendous amount of moisture moving in here across the Midwest. You're looking at our satellite picture. You see the purples and the yellows, the oranges here on the satellite picture. That's where we have the high cloud tops, the thunderstorms, the showers going. Chicago, that includes around you, and you'll expect those showers and thunderstorms to continue. The potential for some very heavy rain across this region, we've already seen it. Now this is a loop of estimated radar estimated precipitation here off of Doppler radar since Friday morning, and you can see we already have a couple of yellows popping up here in central Missouri. We'll continue to see the heavy rain, especially in southern Illinois, continue here through the late night. Now into the Northeast, we did get some rain Friday afternoon into the evening, but it didn't accumulate too much. In D.C. there was about a ½ inch of rainfall. Philly about a little over a tenth. So we are expecting more potentially around D.C. Some light showers possible here for the next couple of hours. It's going to be around Harrisonburg, Martinsburg, West Virginia. That's what we'll see the potential for a few storms. But really by far the heaviest precipitation will be back across parts of the Midwest, in particular around central and southern Illinois. Again, here's another vantage point of that system. Last frame here missing some data, but you can see we have the moisture that sort of bends back down around across the Carolinas. Some chance for some stormy weather there as well. This front will be the focus as we go through the day on Saturday. This front extends back across the Midwest, and along it we'll watch the continuation of storms continuing to train to move across the same regions, and flooding again will be a potential, especially back into eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee. A lot of rain there thus far this season, and the soil certainly is not dry in that region. Now we should look back, a closer look at the temperatures across the region. On Friday it was 89 degrees in New York before the thunderstorms rolled in. It was 77 in Boston. Temperatures actually warmed up once the thunderstorms rolled in there. It did stay cool up into New England, 47 in Caribou, 54 only in Bangor, Maine. Now as I mentioned, these temperatures are changing. Let's take a look at those forecast temperatures in a moment, and you'll see the cooler air here, the 40s, the 50s that are in the upper Midwest are heading eastward. Now your Saturday forecast again keeps it wet. Temperatures only in the 70s. We're looking at 73 in Philadelphia, 78 in Washington, 58 in Pittsburgh. And your forecast here on Sunday, much cooler, 58 in Philly. Look at the snow nosing in here to northern Michigan, 42 in Alpena. Only 55 in Boston on Sunday. So some big changes heading your way. Here's a look at your forecast in the Midwest on Saturday. 47 in Minneapolis. It will be a quiet day across Wisconsin. Temperatures in the upper 40s. Rain will move out. Chicago, 50 degrees. You're left with some clouds. And then your Sunday forecast, the chance for some rain moves back in, 42. The chance for some snow showers in Green Bay, 39 degrees. Snow showers too possible in Minneapolis. It's April. Anything goes here. Let's head southward. And we do have some very mild conditions across the southeast. It was 87 in Atlanta. It was 92 in Columbia, South Carolina. So mild is not the word to describe it. It was a hot day across the southeast. And another one is in store for tomorrow. A few record highs here across the southeast. Huntington, West Virginia, 89 degrees. Around Birmingham, it was 88 degrees, and that set a new record high for the date. Nashville, 86. Tied a record high for the date. So the warm conditions will continue. We do have the potential on Saturday for some severe weather, and that will be back across Oklahoma into Texas. Wichita Falls, around Lubbock, that's where you could see the potential for some stormy conditions. This front will continue to be the focus. We'll take a look at your Saturday forecast, and around 73 in Tulsa, again the chance for some thunderstorms, but as I mentioned, Oklahoma City, back down through Wichita Falls into Lubbock, the potential for some very stormy conditions tomorrow. Things are setting up here where this could be a very stormy afternoon into the evening. The potential for tornadoes and supercells with large hail, a very likely possibility across this region. Across the rest of the southeast, we're just looking for another warm day. Your Sunday forecast, again, we're looking for that severe weather area to shift a little bit farther eastward, and that brings it into Memphis and maybe even down through Dallas. Your temperature there, 77 degrees. Let's head westward and talk about relatively mild day in San Diego, 64 degrees, 68 in San Francisco. Conditions not bad out here. Now we do have some snow falling, and we have some heavy snow warnings actually in effect for parts of Wyoming. Looking at the latest observations, did see a few snow obs in there for Denver, so the snow is falling. You could see maybe a dusting to an inch of the white stuff, but otherwise will be light there across parts of Colorado. Coming up next, your weekly planner, but first take a look at your local forecast.
Attention homeowners, mortgage interest rates have gone up. If you still haven't refinanced your old higher interest mortgage to a new lower fixed rate, or if you want to cash out some equity, now may be a great time to lock in a new low fixed rate from Ditech.com. Don't wait for mortgage rates to go up again. Refinance now while Ditech's rates are still low. Call 1-800-71-FIXED or log on to Ditech.com right now. Ditech.com, your mortgage solution delivered.
Yuck! You spray poisonous chemicals, you set dangerous traps, and you pay an exterminator every month. But those stubborn pests just keep coming back. Not anymore. Introducing Pest Chaser, the sonic pest repeller that sounds like a jackhammer to pests, running them out of your home for good. Watch, these rodents are enjoying their new home. But look what happens after we plug in the Pest Chaser. They run out and away. Amazing! Satisfied customers know rodents, fleas, roaches, ants, spiders, and flies are no match for the Pest Chaser. One Pest Chaser protects an entire floor of your home, apartment, or condo. Plus, it's safe for the whole family, even your pets. Look, exterminators can charge $30 a month. That's $360 a year. But you can have the Pest Chaser for only $19.95. Call now and we'll include the Pest Chaser all-natural insect repellent. It's fresh-scented, safe, and effective. Yours free. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Order now.
Call 1-800-592-9977 to order your Pest Chaser for only $19.95 plus shipping and handling, and receive the insect repellent free.
Now, from the Weather Channel, here's your local on the 8s. Currently, the temperature is 65 degrees under cloudy skies. The forecast for your area. Your extended forecast.
It's time to look ahead at the next 7 days, and we do have some big changes in the forecast. Throughout the past week, we've had this pattern. A big trough over the west and a ridge in place over the east has kept it very warm, with the heat wave continuing over the eastern states here. Well, things are changing as we go through the weekend. We've already seen the change begin to move in across the upper Midwest. Locations that had record high temperatures earlier in the week are now looking at very cool conditions, only in the 40s in some places for high temperatures. So the story is that cool air will shift eastward. Throughout the weekend, we'll see a trough move through the east, and that will bring the chance for some wet weather. And then as we head into midweek, things do remain pretty mild. We have another little disturbance here that moves through the middle of the country with some cooler air that stays in place across the upper Midwest. So let's get started here with your Saturday weather, and we're looking at a front at the surface that extends from the mid-Atlantic all the way back through the plains. And along this front, we'll be watching for the continuation of rain, showers, thunderstorms, and they will continue to form and reform across the same areas. So flooding is a big concern here throughout the region on Saturday. We're looking for the rain to especially be a concern for flooding here across southern Indiana, southern Ohio, into eastern Kentucky, some locations that have had a lot of rain so far this season. Now we are also on Saturday watching for the potential of some severe weather back across Oklahoma into Texas. And there certainly is the likelihood for supercells with a chance for very large hail, strong winds, but also the potential for tornadoes. The system, the situation setting up here is looking like a situation where it could be very active in the afternoon into the evening hours. And again, we want to put you on your guard for this region, Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, on down through Lubbock, for the potential for some stormy weather. And on the west, well, things remain dry across the west coast, but we will watch for the continuation of some snow across the mountains of Wyoming and even into Colorado. On Sunday, look what happens to that snow. It shifts to the north and to the east and into Minneapolis, into perhaps Green Bay, Milwaukee, even into northern Michigan. The chance for some snow showers not out of the question here for your Sunday forecast. We're still watching for rain, though. To the south of that front still extends stationary back across the region, and rain still a concern for northern parts of Illinois in through Indiana and back through again Kentucky and Ohio. Strong storms, that area shifts eastward on Sunday, and from parts of western Tennessee back down through Arkansas into Texas, and that includes around the Dallas area. We could be looking for some very stormy conditions for your Sunday. Heading into Monday, the whole system shifts eastward. It starts to pick up a little bit more speed here after moving very slow throughout the weekend. What we'll see is much cooler conditions and drier conditions across the plains, but we will see the potential for some scattered thunderstorms all across the southeast and even into the mid-Atlantic. The rain, the snow, perhaps around Pittsburgh, Buffalo, maybe even into Albany. Perhaps the chance, probably not, but certainly even into Boston. Don't be surprised if you see a wet snowflake in there somewhere. It's going to be a raw day on Monday. Your Tuesday forecast dries it out across the east here, except into New England, where you're still left with the chance for some snow showers here. And then in the west, in particular around the Intermountain West and the northern plains, another system rolls on in, and we'll watch for that to move on southward on Wednesday. The chance for some rain showers moving into around Green Bay, into Chicago, St. Louis, maybe some thunderstorms back across parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. Looking at your Thursday forecast, that system moves to the east, and we're watching for some showers stretching from the northeast all the way back down through the southeast and into southern Texas, with the chance for some thunderstorms across the south. Heading into your Friday, well, things will be drying out across the east, and we're looking for some wet weather perhaps moving into central California. We could use the rain there and even down to the southern California area. We'll keep you posted. Looking at temperatures, some big changes on the way. Your Saturday and Sunday highs, cooler air moves into the northeast as we head into Monday and Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday. Watch for those cooler temperatures to dip even farther south here into parts of the south. More to come next.
You're looking at the first major breakthrough in bed design in over 70 years. It's the amazing Tempur-Pedic Swedish sleep system.
Warren, yeah, a little bit more to go. This is not a big storm, but in the context of a record heat wave across portions of the northeastern United States as well as the Midwest, this is going to be a little bit of a shock. Now in New York City, there's a small chance you could see that rain you're going to get tomorrow, cold rain, possibly mixed with snow. That after a temperature of 96 degrees on Wednesday, very, very unusual. Now the unusual part is that it's still able to snow in New York through about probably the first week of May, but that's about it. So only about 2 weeks more, and that's coming on the heels of one of the hottest temperatures ever recorded so early in the year. Low pressure will be moving up towards the northeast, and as it does, we're seeing a very disorganized area of precipitation really focused this evening across northern portions of Wisconsin and the northern portion of the lower peninsula of Michigan. There, I said it. Temperatures falling below freezing, so driving is going to be difficult tonight. The snow is coming down moderate to heavily. Only lasts for a few hours, but you're going to get about 3-4 inches of snow in this area. That's going to be north of Grand Rapids and Muskegon, typically from Green Bay, which it'll be tapering off and then moving eastward. And then we can even see towards the edge of the screen that some of the snow is falling around Buffalo, New York. And that's the area where we're going to see tomorrow morning. Here's a forecast animation that shows that by tomorrow morning we'll have low pressure moving into the Ohio Valley, another weak area of low pressure developing off the mid-Atlantic coast. And what we can see is an area of snowfall still confined to portions of Wisconsin and Michigan, with mostly light rains across the mid-Atlantic states. As we go during the day, that low pressure system will begin to move off to the east, and we'll start seeing some of those cooler temperatures begin to move in. And as we do, we'll see that rain mix with and change to snow across the southern tier of New York, the Catskills, the Berkshires, several inches of snow likely there. Driving won't be difficult during the day because during the day the roads will just be wet. But even towards evening, we could see as the storm low pressure system moves off to the east, there is a small chance that the rain could be mixing with snow even in Boston as well as New York City. And again, in that context, it's going to be pretty unusual. 94 in Hartford last week, possibly an inch of snow by tomorrow evening.
The seasons, they are changing.
Oh, they certainly are. The wrong way, though.
Well, hopefully it'll get back towards summer soon.
I'm sure it will.
All right. Paul Kocin, our winter weather expert, thanks for joining us. We'll be back with you in the next half hour. Well, let's take a look here now what's going on in the Midwest. And there we have it. What a contrast here. 35 for the high in Minneapolis. Farther south, you cross the Ohio River, our highs today were in the 80s. So there definitely is a boundary there. Cold front with a low pressure system in southern Illinois right now tracking eastward. North of it, that's where we've been seeing the snow. Here along the warm front, still some heavy rain, and we've seen severe weather today. Sharon will be filling you in on that momentarily. Right now, though, we follow the path of the snowfall heading eastbound. Things should be improving here across the Red River Valley and into the upper Mississippi Valley during the day tomorrow, though. And looking at that forecast, still a few snowflakes overnight and maybe into the morning hours, then warming up in Minneapolis at 48. Chicago, some morning mix at 44. And watch out in Cleveland, you'll be dealing with some mixed precipitation also at 43. Now to the northeast, where we've seen some showers come through New York City earlier, and we've also seen some rain around Pittsburgh today, but that didn't stop people from getting out and walking for a very good cause here, the March of Dimes walk. You just got out the umbrella, maybe the rain poncho, and made your way to and fro. Now, it was wet here in Pittsburgh today, but let me warn you, tomorrow you could be seeing some mix of snow and rain out there, so be very careful here in the Three Rivers area. Right now, looking at high temperature of 57 in New York City. It's really been a ping-pong match here in New York City in terms of your high temperatures during the last month. We just see a big seesaw. The white line is your average high temperature, slowly climbing as we get later. 96 just a couple of days ago. Tomorrow, much cooler. High of only 47 with some rain and maybe even a few snowflakes, especially in the northern suburbs later on in the day. And Boston seeing a mix coming in with some snow perhaps by your evening commute. So there we go. We're not done with winter quite yet, but we do have some other weather to tell you about. With that, here's Sharon.
Thanks, Warren. On the warm side of the front, we've seen all kinds of severe weather, and there are still some strong storms in parts of Kentucky and West Virginia at this hour. Strong storms blasted through Louisville around 7:30 Eastern time, and boy, did they ever drop a lot of rain. Your biggest concern for the remainder of the night will be flash flooding. And of course, as we head into that region, we do have some flash flood warnings in effect. That includes you in Jefferson County. Let's go ahead and take a look at the situation now. Warren and our storm expert covered what's going on here north of the front. I want to talk a little bit more about what's happening further southward in the warm sector of the storm. In the vicinity of the warm front is where we're finding the rainfall, which is heavy at times, and the thunderstorms, some of which are strong. Very warm temperatures in this region, the warm sector, and a cool air mass coming in behind it, which you will all be feeling across much of the south heading into tomorrow. So along that area, near the area of low pressure, that's where the instability is greatest, and that's where we're finding the potential for severe weather. We've got it painted in red. Still a sliver of a watch area in effect here across Kentucky and just a small portion of southwestern Ohio, meaning the conditions are favorable here for the development of severe thunderstorms. So it bears some watching, and we'll continue to watch that region. But the past warnings that we've had, many of them have been into West Virginia. At this point in time, we don't have any additional warnings right now. That's good news. And what we're seeing is that the general batch of storms here is moving away from the most unstable area. So what's going to happen throughout the course of the next several hours, we'll start to see more of a heavy rain event with some embedded thunderstorms. And some of these may just completely dissipate by the time they reach you around D.C. It may just be a rain event for you, maybe a rumble or two of thunder, but certainly not anticipating any real strong thunderstorms around the D.C. area at this point in time. And that'll be occurring during the wee hours of the morning. So again, it's looking pretty wet here, and if we have any further warnings to pass along, we will. The potential is always still there. Do want to note this next batch of thunderstorms coming just to the south of Cincinnati, around the Covington area. We'll watch out for those, and we'll continue to keep an eye on you around Louisville for the potential for more flash flooding, because you can see that little batch of thunderstorms that developed in this region as well. So lots of action across this area and a lot of rainfall, tallying up to over 2 inches heading into the Evansville area. More next.
Currently in your area, 52 degrees under cloudy skies.
IQ pits tornadoes against hurricanes. A viewer asks, why are some tornadoes a lot stronger and costlier than most hurricanes? Severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes has the answer.
There are 2 parts to this answer. The strongest.
It's ragged low cloud fragments below the main cloud base. From tornadoes in Happy, Texas to May snowfall in the northwest, the weather was downright wild last week. Between May 5th and May 8th, there were 74 tornadoes, 233 reports of damaging winds, and 658 reports of large hail. Meteorologist Mike Seidel takes a look back at what happened.
On Sunday, May 5th, the week began with a deadly tornado that ironically hit a town called Happy, Texas.
Everything is gone. It said this, everything is destroyed that we had. This is all we had, and now there's nothing.
Get inside! I thought it was huge. It was a monster. Come on!
One couple was killed when the twister tossed their mobile home nearly 100 yards with them inside. Their 9-year-old son survived. Just 2 days later, microburst winds partially demolished a Missouri marina north of St. Louis. In a matter of minutes, the North Shore Marina lost 80 of its 105 slips. In Waverly, Indiana, in Morgan County, a school bus got stuck in high water with students on board. Emergency crews safely unloaded all 14 students onto boats. May 7th also brought portions of eastern Washington a thick 17-inch blanket of snow. On May 8th, a freight train derailed in West Plains, Missouri, southeast of Springfield. Officials feared overnight severe storms and rain runoff damaged the track. And on May 9th, deadly storms tore through this mobile home community in Centralia, Illinois. The storms reduced homes to rubble, claiming 2 lives and injuring at least a dozen others.
This string of days with severe weather has been somewhat unusual, but it is May and this is a stormy time of year.
For the Weather Channel, I'm Mike Seidel.
More severe weather is erupting tonight, but will this stormy trend continue on into the next week? Here's Rick with your weekly planner.
Well, as we take a look at the next 7 days, it does appear that the eastern 2/3 of the country will have several periods of unsettled weather as we head out of the weekend into early next week. Trough of low pressure going by, another one developing in the Rockies, and swinging east towards the end of the week will bring another significant storm to the Midwest and then eventually to the Northeast. Let's start with the Sunday forecast, and here in the Northeast.
Your forecast. Your extended forecast.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Live by it.
Big storms and big heat. Those are 2 of the biggest stories we're following here on Weather Center at the Weather Channel. Welcome. My name is Paul Emmick.
And I'm Ray Stagich. Yes, Paul, plenty of heat out there. And Also some stormy weather on the East Coast, but talking about the heat first and numerous record highs as we went into the western part of the U.S., including a 121 degrees. No, folks, that is not a misprint. That is an actual high temperature, tying a record high in Death Valley, California, one of the hottest places, at least in the lower 48. Needles, California, you're at 114. Las Vegas, you had a record high of 108. And even on the East Coast, had a couple of record highs, 98 degrees and a sultry 98 in the Raleigh-Durham area. And our actual high temperatures during the daytime hours on Thursday did see those triple-digit numbers anywhere from Phoenix on through Las Vegas, and on off toward the east, we did see temperatures in the middle 80s around Atlanta, and then up toward the eastern seaboard where we had some clouds and rain, temperatures were in the 60s and 70s. Departures from average, as we said, cloud cover and rainfall in the Ohio Valley around Cleveland and Detroit kept temperatures down by some 5 to 15 degrees from where you should be this time of year, and the warmth out toward the western part of the U.S. Keeping temperatures well above average as we went on through the day that it was Thursday. Closer look now at the west, 69 in San Diego, 76 at Boise for your high temperature, and our forecast in the western U.S. calling for nothing in the way of desperately needed rainfall, just a area of low pressure and actually a heat low that's going to keep the heat on, and we are going to continue to see a pretty mild weather pattern over the next couple of days as we head on through the evening hours. Not much changing in your forecast highs, really coolest along the coastal areas. You get that maritime influence, also known as the ocean. You get those cooler temperatures along the shoreline, but as you head inland toward Daggett and even Palm Springs, temperatures soaring once again to triple-digit heat. Please stay cool any way you can as you head on out, especially in some of the deserts of Southern California. But on off further toward the north, Sacramento, you'll be at 89 degrees, Red Bluff 91, and once again, get toward the shore, things will be a little bit cooler as we head through the day. Now in the northwest, looks like we'll continue to see some mild readings in Seattle later today, but 59 degrees in the afternoon is a little below average, still jacket weather, but as you head inland toward, well, Pendleton, looks like 67 will be your afternoon high. Take a look at the earthquake reports, and we didn't see too much going on in Southern California. 2.4 there down near the border, but as we head further on off toward the north, 2.6 just north of San Francisco Bay, and on up toward the Pacific Northwest, we actually had 3.4. You're right there in parts of the Cascades, and as you head through Alaska, we had a couple of 2.3s, 2.7, and just north of Anchorage, actually 3.2 popping up in our earthquake report. We'll head now to the lower 48 in the forecast. Here's Paul.
All right, take a look at what's going on. The stormiest spot, a great deal of moisture working its way across the upper Midwest, could make for additional showers and storms. In the overnight hours, could be a little rough in some locations. Might see some lightning of concern, and just a great deal of rainfall too anywhere along I-35. Could be a pretty wet location. Upper Midwest could be dealing with some stormier spots before Friday is done too. That does, by the way, include Minneapolis, St. Paul, big portions of Wisconsin, a little bit of Nebraska, South Dakota, and at a corner of Iowa as well. That's where the worst the weather may be, so a heads up, especially in toward the Twin Cities. What about the rain for the day? There was, well, we did pick up quite a bit in Dover, over an inch. Atlantic City, New Jersey, close to 1.5 inches. Even toward Philly, just over 3/4. In LaGuardia in the city, 7/10. I'd call that a lot of rain. In parts of Georgia, too, like Augusta, just over 2 inches. Destin, Florida, beautiful spot, 1 inch and 42/100. Even northeastern portions of Atlanta, Georgia, got close to 1/2 inch. Charlotte, North Carolina, just a little bit over 1/2 as well. In the daytime, a few showers and storms along with this front. Eastern seaboard will be wet for just a little while. Not an all-day rain, but an occasional rain. Amounts could be quite heavy, too, which we know we need the rain in the northeast, but now we have flooding concerns, too, so not a good combination. Some spots, even Boston, the city could see more than 1 inch. In the midday hours, the rain continues to scoot off the shore. Southeast stays just a little bit soggy, dealing with some rainfall as well. Miami, Tampa, and Orlando. And again, potentially quite stormy for us, popping up in toward the Twin Cities. Let's look at what's happening with the active weather. We'll talk about the weather of our week with a weekly planner coming up in moments. Please stay tuned.
And we are looking at a very windy day across the western half of the country, with windy conditions from the plains back across the Rockies, even up along the west coast, looking at those winds continuing. We're also watching for the chance for some wet weather, and that's across the drought-stricken areas of the west here, parts of Montana, and then eventually on in we'll see some thunderstorms here across the upper Midwest. In the east, well, it's going to be a nice day for a lot of folks. Some folks will see some rain. We'll talk about all of that. First, though, let's get an update on the west and the dry conditions that continue to plague us out here. The good news is some wet weather is moving in, as you saw on the forecast, but Casper, Wyoming for 2002 so far has only received 51% of its average rainfall. In Great Falls, it's 53%. Around Pocatello, Idaho, it's 63%. So dry conditions out in the west. Along with the dry conditions, we've seen record heat across the southwest. In Pueblo, Colorado, 100 degrees. You tied the record high for the date. Around Winslow, Arizona, it was 99. A very warm day here again across the southwest, and it's going to continue here. Here's a look at some of those temperatures. 109 in Phoenix. We saw 63 in Cut Bank. Things are going to change here, and it was only 55 in Seattle, and that was a cool day for you, relatively speaking. Here's a look at some record lows from today across the northwest. In Davenport, Washington, it was 30 degrees, tied the record low. Yakima, 35. So we have in the west, we have heat, and we have some cooler temperatures as well. What we have is a system moving on in here to the northwest, and that bringing some cooler weather, also bringing some wet weather. And we'll take a look at how that can affect your forecast in the morning. While we're watching for some showers here in parts of Montana, Idaho, we may see some snowflakes mixing in here, say above 5,500, 6,000 feet here in the mountains of Idaho and Montana. It's all just associated with this front here that does not move much as we go throughout the day on Saturday, and even into Sunday things stay pretty stationary. So we'll continue to see the chance for some showers in eastern Wyoming and into parts of South Dakota and Nebraska as well. It stays hot in the southwest, as I mentioned, hot and windy. 106 in Phoenix. It's going to be 76 in Salt Lake City on Saturday. Look out for some changes here as we head to Sunday. Only 63 degrees, your forecast high there, but it's going to continue to stay warm in Denver through the weekend. 80 degrees is your forecasted temperature with mostly cloudy skies on Sunday. Now we're going to shift gears and take a look up here into the upper Midwest, where we are watching the same front here that's in the west, but here we're watching for the chance for some stormy conditions. We could see some stronger storms at time here with winds gusting maybe over 40, 50 miles an hour, not out of the question. Heavy rain, though, continues to be a big concern. You can see all of the moisture in place on our satellite picture, and it's moving over the same areas continuously, so we do have the potential for some flooding. We could see more than a ½ inch with some of these rain showers, especially the ones that are pretty persistent here and not moving. Our front in place across this region does not move much throughout the day, and so we will continue to see that heavy rain eastern parts of South Dakota on down into Nebraska, eventually on into Minnesota, in particular southern Minnesota, and central Wisconsin. We'll watch for the chance for some thunderstorms throughout the day. Look back here at your Saturday forecast. 74 degrees with thunderstorms there for Minneapolis, Green Bay. It's some showers here, 75 degrees. It stays dry in Chicago. 80 degrees for your forecast high on Saturday. Look at Omaha, 92 degrees with some windy conditions. On Sunday, things begin to change a little bit. We see some more moisture in place here, and we have more wet weather in the forecast. Fargo, Minneapolis, Omaha, all with the chance of some thunderstorms. Temperatures, though, pretty warm here, into the upper 80s in some places. Chicago, does that stay? Well, we stay into the upper 80s all the way into Tuesday. Tuesday, we begin to see some changes. Some rain moves in, and Wednesday, much cooler conditions with temperatures only in the 60s. Let's head to the southeast. Here's where we have the wet weather to talk about. Savannah, Georgia, over 2½ inches of rain for the day on Friday. Around Albany, it was 1 3/4. In Panama City, Florida, just over ½ inch of rain. A lot of moisture in the southeast, and here too, we are talking about another stationary front. We also have a stationary front in the southeast. This one draped across the Gulf Coast. You can see moisture in place on our satellite picture. Now the showers and the thunderstorms have been calming down as we've been going through the late night hours here, and that'll be the trend again for Saturday. We'll see thunderstorms pop up in the afternoon hours and then die down around after sunset. Really really could see about a quarter to a half an inch of rainfall here along the coastal areas of Georgia and South Carolina. Otherwise, things have really quieted down here across the southeast. But as I mentioned, going throughout the day on Saturday, this boundary remains stationary here across the southeast. Watch for those scattered showers and thunderstorms to again pick up throughout the afternoon hours, especially along the Florida Peninsula. And we'll watch for some heavy rain again, a big potential here across the region. 88 in Tampa, 87 in Orlando. It's going to be a very muggy day all across the southeast. 80 degrees in Atlanta. Enjoy the cooler weather here because it does warm up as we go throughout the week. 83 in Atlanta on your Sunday. Same thing around Charlotte, but again, we're looking at a lot of moisture in place. And New Orleans, it's 87 with thunderstorms in your forecast for Sunday. So Saturday looks like your better day. In the northeast, clear skies here across the region. It's going to be a much better day in Boston. The skies have cleared out and looks like we should have partly cloudy conditions in the morning. In fact, it's going to be a beautiful morning. Temperatures just about perfect here, a little bit on the cooler side, not real muggy. Throughout the afternoon and evening hours, we'll watch for high pressure to remain in control with temperatures warmer into the upper 70s. And on Sunday, we get into the low 80s. More to come in your local forecast. That's next.
Now, Cornerstone Promotions brings you Rockin' Instrumentals, featuring 34 of your all-time jukebox favorites. These are the songs that bring back magical memories. 34 original hits by the original artist, together in this one great collection. Rockin' Instrumentals is not sold in stores. Here's how to order. Call this toll-free number now for Rockin' Instrumentals. 2 cassettes, $19.98. 2 CDs, $26.98 plus $4.95 shipping. Have your credit card ready and call now.
Now, from the Weather Channel, here's your local on the 8s.
Currently, the temperature is 56 degrees under fair skies. Your forecast. Your extended forecast.
It's the second week in June and it's going to get hot in the eastern half of the country. We'll look at all the details here on the Weekly Planner. First, starting off with the big pictures, we're starting off with a very hot weekend in place across the southwest, and that spreads into the plains and eventually spreads eastward. What we have in place, though, is also a trough here moving into the northwest, and as that continues to move eastward and actually lifts northward a little bit, that will build this ridge here across the middle of the country, and that will keep things very warm across the east. As the trough moves eastward and it actually lifts northward a little bit, we'll see a burst of some cooler temperatures here across the upper Midwest, and we'll also see the track of our storms here take the northern tier states as we go through the week. How about Saturday? Well, we're looking at windy conditions all across the western half of the country, from the plains back to the west coast here, looking at winds gusting at times over 40 miles an hour in some cases. It's going to be a windy day here and a very hot one continuing across the southwest, as well as pretty dry. So no doubt that we are concerned about the continued fire danger. The winds certainly exacerbate the situation, and we'll keep you posted on the latest there. As we saw that trough here across the west move in, you can see rain in the forecast for Montana. Good news, we need it here. We also have some snow in the forecast for the higher
Father's Day is tomorrow, and many dads will end up with ties or socks as gifts. Please, if you're watching, honey, I don't want another stinking tie. Anyway, enough of that. But if you're looking for a more exciting gift, then why not take him golfing or fishing for more outdoor activities going on this weekend? Here's our RSN Outdoor Report. Exited, those of you watching around Boston and Providence. Welcome back to the Weather Channel. I'm Mike Seidel. We'll check your current weather in just a minute. 50 after the update on the tropics. Let's talk first about a sticky situation, and it has to do with a lot of bees here in Sherman Oaks, California, and they have been swarming across someone's home. They've taken up residence between the roof and the ceiling of an apartment, and now a 200-pound honeycomb is oozing honey from the ceiling. For the last 2 months, the family who lives there have been collecting honey in buckets throughout their living room. The bees like the protected climate of the apartment better than the heat outdoors, and you also get some free honey. Not too bad. Better than collecting water from the roof, huh? Let's check out the boat and beach situation for this afternoon. It's one of those weekends where you'll need the sunscreen. A lot of us now in that area where we have 10s for the UV outdoor index. That's because the sun angle theoretically is highest in the sky on the first day of summer, which is coming up in just a few days. Now in the Northeast, forget it. It's a washout. And for some of you in parts of the plains right now, we do have some severe weather in parts of south central Nebraska. We'll start it off in the Northeast. Not a great day for the beach or the boat because it is just cloudy and damp and chilly and just a nasty day from the Cape all the way down towards Ocean City, although there will be some sunshine this afternoon across the Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia beaches, which may give rise to some afternoon storms. So beware of that, boaters. Don't be fooled into a false sense of security. Winds generally onshore across the northeast of the country, the New England states, and then blowing offshore as we get south of that front from the south and southwest. Notice the water temperature, though, 54 at Boston Harbor, and that's why it's only in the 50s today, because the wind is coming across the water. Tomorrow you'll have more of an offshore wind, and that should get temperatures near 70 in Boston. Southeast, beach is looking fine. Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, the Outer Banks from Duck and Corolla. And then all the way along the Gulf Coast where you have very comfortable humidity today. It's unbelievably low for mid-June. New Orleans, Houston, over towards Panama City. But then you head south of that front and you find this steam and the really nasty weather in South Florida. Very, very heavy rainfalls from Miami down through the Florida Keys. There is a marine warning. Boaters, the best bet if you're in the Keys, even though it may not be raining where you are in the upper Keys around Key Largo or north of Almorada here along US 1. Stay in port because these storms are coming in, producing gusty winds. Could be some water spouts, and all this rain is also impacting Miami-Dade County up towards Broward County, but the worst right now is in Miami-Dade. So pretty much a washout for the beaches from Marco south, the Keys, and then the beaches of West Palm, from West Palm Beach south. Most of Palm Beach County cloudy, although the northern part of the county you are dry. Winds, for the most part, are blowing from the west. That's pretty unusual across most of the Gulf of Mexico, with a late afternoon sea breeze around Galveston and South Padre. And once again, very heavy rains with those winds onshore in South Florida. Water temperatures, hardly ever a problem, certainly not this time of the year. 84 in Key West, 84 at Clearwater, and around 85 there you get down towards the southern parishes of Louisiana. So very much like bathwater for a lot of us. The western states still very dry. Be very, very careful out here. We've got fires continuing to burn in Colorado, the worst fire season on record for them. And we don't have any rainfall in sight except for maybe a few storms developing this afternoon in this area as the heating of the day takes over. But a lot of these storms just produce lightning and very little rainfall. Southern California, the beaches look good. No problems from Huntington Beach up towards Malibu, towards beautiful Will Rogers State Park there in LA County, and then up towards Stinson Beach too, around San Francisco. Nice day. It's cloudy though for the Puget Sound down towards most of coastal Oregon, and the winds generally blowing onshore across the western part of the country. Water temperatures never rarely get very warm in this part of the world because we have the cold current coming down the western part of the continent. So if you get the temperature up to 70 by the mid and latter part of the summer in Southern California, that's about as good as you can do. Right now, running about 62. So if you're a surfer, obviously the wetsuit comes in handy. Putting it all back together, big swirl here. This is the upper level low, and that's going to be moving off towards the northeast for Father's Day. So those of you in Washington, Baltimore, getting a little sunshine this afternoon, well, you may get some storms this afternoon and again for Father's Day. This system in the tropics does bear watching. We'll have more on what we think this may do over the next couple of days coming up in the tropical update in about 6 or 7 minutes. But right now, in the short term, heavy rainfalls for the rest of this afternoon from the Florida Keys, from Key West all the way up towards Miami and Fort Lauderdale. We'll be watching the high plains for the potential for severe weather. Already a watch area for parts of eastern Colorado, southwest Nebraska, and western Kansas until 6 o'clock this evening. Northeast recapping, cloudy, damp, rainy, Syracuse, Rochester. Look at these bands of rain rotating up towards the Adirondacks and all the way across into Quebec province and Ontario province, with rain this afternoon expected in Montreal and Toronto. Rain too from down East Maine all the way to Portland. This is the batch of rain that has now left Boston behind, but you'll be damp for the rest of the afternoon. The best weather in the country may very well be here in the southeast. It's sunny, it's warm, but it's comfy with the exception of Florida. More on this system, more on the tropics, what may be developing here in the early part of the season after Local on the 8s.
This program was brought to you by One Touch Ultra. One touch changes everything.
Diabetes.